Just going through some of the vector tools available to you. Underneath this object here, underneath vector, we've got rectangle, ellipse and polygon. You probably won't use many of the others, so although there's a star down the bottom which is sometimes useful later on. But the rectangle tool, I'm going to use that, and I'm going to make a rectangle as you'd expect. By using the shift key, we'll keep it as a perfect square should you want a perfect square. Inside the object, you can change the color to whichever one you want. You can also add a gradient should you wish to, so I'm going to add a radial gradient here, extend the radial gradient. You can also then go back to your paint pots and change the colours, or should you wish, add another colour or another number of paint pots. And if I add this one here, we'll change that. So it may be something that you want to do by adding a number of different colours there. You can then change it if you want to, choose one of the other gradients and a linear gradient and so on. Certainly if you're doing your logo, you may want something like this or similar to that. The same happens with the ellipse tool. Notice it keeps your previous setting. So should you want an ellipse without the gradient on it, then just put it back to none, or put it back to solid and then choose the colour that you want as solid there. Okay, I can move that around. You can also use the scale tool to resize it then afterwards. Again, shift key will stop it going distorted, and you can then add a gradient should you wish to that at a later point. You can also, with the scale tool, rotate the objects. In the corners you will get the rotation. Obviously rotating a circle has no effect, or very little effect as far as you can see, but I can rotate objects and so on. Alright, so I'll just get rid of those two. And I'm also going to talk about the grouping of objects. So if I draw a rectangle and then I draw a circle with it, or an ellipse or a perfect circle using the shift key, I may want to move those two objects around together. Well, I can do that by selecting them, and that will do that. Or Control and G, also modify and group whichever one, and now I can move that round as one object so that I can add some more text to it at a later point. Control and G is fine, but if I click on and now change the colours, that's fine. If I now add a gradient to that, a radial gradient, note each object has its own radial gradient. Now that wasn't my intention. I want to treat this as one particular object. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to ungroup those objects, and then when I highlight them, two of them together, I'm going to modify combine paths, and I'm going to union them together. Now you'll see they are one object together. Alright, as a radial gradient it's fairly clear, but also as a linear gradient you'll be able to see there's the center point where the gradient starts, and there we are. That's the sort of thing that maybe I'm looking for my piece of work as a logo. Once it's union as well, the object is treated as one object. So that's also called a compound shape. It's made up of a circle and a rectangle. You can add many more shapes and so on in order to make that. Right?